Have you ever thought that egg trading would be more profitable than gold trading? This seems absurd, but it has become true in the US. Because the price of chicken eggs in the US at this time has doubled compared to last year, which is something that farmers and consumers in the US could not have expected. Currently, chicken eggs in the US are considered more valuable than gold because in many supermarkets, eggs are no longer displayed on the shelves due to scarce supply. Today, let's find out with us why the price of eggs in the US has increased so much. Americans consume a lot of eggs every year, and they are a staple in their diet. According to statistics, the average American eats about 280 eggs a year, which means that more than 100 billion eggs are consumed. To supply the large annual egg production, laying hen farms in the United States have expanded to all regions of the world. Most commercial egg production now takes place in the Midwest, the eastern regions of the United States, and in California. However, these farms are now facing an unprecedented challenge: avian influenza. Hundreds of millions of chickens in the United States have been culled to prevent the spread of the disease, including a large number of laying hens. In the last 3 months of 2024 alone, more than 20 million egg-laying hens in the United States were culled due to avian influenza, marking the largest loss to the U.S. egg supply since the outbreak. The consequences of the avian flu epidemic were dire, not only causing a decline in chicken production but also greatly affecting the supply and price of eggs across the United States. The massive loss of poultry flocks has created a supply shock, leaving Americans without eggs to buy in restaurants and food companies that produce eggs in dire need of supplies. It can take months for farms to return to full production after an outbreak of bird flu, as farmers need to cull infected birds, clean out their barns and bring in new ones to lay eggs. This has led to a sharp increase in egg prices, with the national average hitting $95 a dozen in January 2025, surpassing previous records. Even in Chicago, consumers are facing an ever greater price shock as prices rise to $8 or even $10 a dozen. In some areas, eggs are even rationed because of shortages. With fewer eggs, consumers are scrambling to buy what they can, driving up prices even further. A simple egg sandwich has become a luxury, consumers say. Consumers and businesses across the country are feeling the impact of these price increases. In fact, many people believe that selling eggs at this time may be more profitable than other businesses. Not only stopping at the egg price crisis, bird flu also greatly affects the entire poultry industry. The financial damage to the poultry industry is huge, estimated at $1.4 billion. Many poultry farms have been forced to close, struggling financially. Thousands of chicken farmers have gone bankrupt and are at risk of debt. The outbreak has not only led to record high egg prices but also prompted discussions about vaccination strategies. Debate continues over the widespread deployment of avian influenza vaccines. There's widespread consensus that only vaccines can prevent influenza outbreaks. Opponents, however, argue that avian influenza vaccines pose a significant threat to the environment, ecosystems, and human health. So, to deal with this situation, what measures has the U.S. government taken? In response, some states, like Nevada, have temporarily relaxed regulations to allow the sale of free-range and Grade B eggs to ease the shortage. The U.S. is currently importing 420 million eggs from Turkey and other countries to address supply issues. However, to fully resolve the egg price crisis, the U.S. government and states need to come up with more effective measures. Importantly, whether this crisis continues or stabilizes will depend on how well the U.S. can control the bird flu. It can be said that this flu outbreak has seriously affected the poultry and egg production industry in the U.S. for more than a decade. If there are effective measures to control the flu, the recovery of the chicken egg market will not be far away. How much did you buy a dozen eggs for these days? Leave a comment below to let us know.
For the past 2 decades, the Chinese market has been considered the most lucrative for meat exporters in Europe, as revenue from this market has always been at the top. However, the European market is currently suffering a major shock, as China has yet to lift the ban on meat imports from countries such as Germany and France. Losing the largest market, meat producers in Europe are also in dire straits. So, what will they do to deal with the large amount of meat and stabilize the market? Germany used to be the 3rd largest pork supplier to China, worth nearly 1 billion euros, equivalent to more than $1 billion. The reason for China's ban was the African swine fever epidemic that had been reported in Germany, and the ban was issued to protect the livestock industry and prevent the disease from spreading in China. China's policy of banning pork imports has dealt a heavy blow to the livestock industry in general and pig farming in particular. Since China now accounts for about half of the world's annual pork consumption and nearly 2/3 of Germany's pork exports, followed by the United States and Spain as China's first and second largest pork suppliers, Germany has lost its largest export market worth more than $1 billion, leading to major upheaval in the pig industry. Germany has the 2nd largest pig farming industry in the EU, with a herd of more than 26 million pigs. However, this number has gradually decreased after the policy of banning German meat imports from China. According to statistics, Germany has reduced the number of pigs by 15% in the past 3 years. many farm owners have switched from pig farming to raising other animals with more economic value. The decline in pig herd production in Germany also directly affects pork production in this country. According to statistics, pork slaughter production decreased by about 20%. However, pork still accounts for the majority of meat production in Germany. Pork is still one of the main ingredients in the diverse cuisine of this country. Currently, Germany is still trying to get China to remove the ban and reopen the market for pork imports from Germany, but China has not yet agreed. This is still one of the big challenges for the German pork industry, because finding a large market like China is not easy. Perhaps the biggest challenge facing the German pork industry today is the fight against African swine fever. This disease cannot be completely eradicated. It still smolders in some areas, waiting for an opportunity to break out. It is also the main reason why China has banned pork imports from this country. Not only Germany, other countries in the EU also suffered a strong blow when China stopped importing, including France with poultry meat products. China's ban on poultry imports from France is due to an outbreak of H5N8 avian influenza in the country. Outbreaks have been reported in the Landes and Allier regions of France, as well as other European countries experiencing similar problems. The highly pathogenic avian influenza has led to the culling of hundreds of millions of birds worldwide in recent years, with France being one of the worst affected countries in the European Union. The flu is highly contagious, and the import ban is also aimed at protecting China's livestock industry. Such bans are part of China's broader strategy to prevent the spread of poultry diseases, ensure food safety, and protect domestic poultry from potential infectious diseases. China has previously banned poultry imports from Ireland due to bird flu. Many countries in the European Union are also facing similar situations as bird flu is raging. If China and other countries stop importing meat from the EU, it will probably severely affect the livestock industry in this region. Recently, China has changed from a total ban on chicken imports in France to some areas heavily affected by bird flu. With this policy, the chicken farming and processing industry in France has had new developments. In addition to the EU countries that suffered the shock of China's import ban, Australia is also one of the countries that have suffered the same situation. However, recently, China has lifted the import ban on Australian beef producers after many years. This move has helped the Australian beef farming and processing industry to recover and grow to a certain extent compared to previous years. As we can see, despite being a potential market with a very large population, China still strictly enforces regulations in import and export procedures, especially for livestock and poultry products. All shipments shipped to this country are strictly inspected, and if they do not meet the standards, China is willing to return export shipments and even impose a long-term import ban. Welcome to today's video. Today, we will explore an impressive success story from the Black Angus cattle industry in China. A single Angus cow when sold can bring in a net profit of more than 7,000 yuan, equivalent to about $1,000. This is a dream income for farmers, and this livestock industry is contributing to poverty alleviation in many rural areas. Angus cattle are a small breed of beef cattle originating from England, characterized by black back hair and no horns. This breed has a very high meat yield and matures early. The slaughter rate is usually 60 to 65%, the bones are thin, the fat is clear, the meat is tender, and the flavor is excellent. According to the assessment, Angus cattle have a meat yield 10% higher than Simmental cattle, and the market price is also 300 to 400 USD higher. Currently, the demand for Angus beef is increasing sharply, opening up great development opportunities for large-scale farms. With the advantage of the market, localities have begun to invest heavily in this livestock industry. This black cattle breed is mainly raised in northern regions of China, such as Heilongjiang, Jilin, Liaoning, Xinjiang, Shanxi, Gansu, and Ningxia. They are suitable for places with cool climates, cold tolerance, good disease resistance, and easy to manage. Angus cattle farms have large areas, with the ambition to build a herd of up to 100,000 cows. Cattle farms are often chosen in places with flat, dry terrain, good drainage, wind and sun direction, enough sunlight, enough electricity and water, abundant green food, and convenient transportation. The cattle barn is designed to be partially closed for ventilation and cooling. The barn has 2 rows of cows. In the middle, there is a feeding ditch about 2 meters wide. Initially, the farms imported breeding cows from Australia in the tens of thousands. Then the breeding and mating process took place. With a scale of nearly 100,000 square meters, these farms meet national beef cattle farming standards. Not only investing in barns, the operating space of the cows is also guaranteed to be spacious and airy. The yard area is half the area of the barn, fully equipped with drinking troughs. When visiting large-scale Angus cattle farms, you will easily recognize cows with different colored tags on their ears. Everything must be strictly controlled, helping farmers grasp the status of the cattle herd. Here, workers are always clean and tidy, fully equipped with functions such as hay barns, feed warehouses, veterinary stations, offices, etc. Each livestock area has a safe path. In the cow barn, a layer of hemp byproducts is often spread so that the cows have the most comfortable space. Feeding is an important step in Angus cattle farming to ensure that Angus cattle grow well. If the fattening goal focuses on beef quality, they will adopt a linear fattening method for weaned calves. After weaning, the calves will enter an adaptation period of about a month. At this time, they will be fed high-quality and nutritious roughage. After the adaptation period, enter the intensive fattening stage. At this stage, feed 1% to 1.5% of body weight with concentrated feed plus clean, hygienic roughage, silage, hay, wine lees, etc., and limit reasonable exercise. After fattening for about a year until the cow is 18 months old, the average weight will reach 450 to 600 kilograms. During the fattening period, the cow will be fed an appropriate amount of grain, which can reduce the cost of fattening. After meeting the standards for sale, the Angus cows will be transferred to the slaughterhouse and processing plant. Not only investing in the livestock sector, the farms also combine to build modern, smart processing plants. It only takes 15 minutes for this line to complete the processing of a cow, which is truly an impressive number. Black Angus beef can be processed into many different parts, such as beef tenderloin, fillet, snowflake meat. After that, these products will be carefully packaged and transported for consumption nationwide. The Angus cattle industry not only produces quality meat products, but also brings high income to the people. According to statistics in Jingyuan County, Ningxia, the rate of people escaping poverty thanks to Angus cattle farming is up to 95%. This shows a positive change in their lives. With advances in technology and management, the Angus cattle industry in China has great potential for development in the future. Farms are applying advanced techniques to optimize the production process, from cow care to meat processing. So, we have finished exploring the billion-dollar black cattle farm in China. Are you surprised by the progress and efforts of the black cattle farming industry here? Best known in the world for its great taste and high price, Wagyu beef is bred and grown on farms around the world. Although it originated in Japan, Australia is famous for its scale of Wagyu beef production and processing. Australian Wagyu beef is exported to many regions around the world and creates a famous brand. So, does the process of producing and processing Australian Wagyu beef meet standards? Standard compared to Japan? Let's find out together. In Japan, the Wagyu beef industry is deeply rooted in tradition, with a focus on quality over quantity. Cows are typically raised in small herds, allowing farmers to closely monitor and care for each animal. Wagyu beef is processed in Japan under strict guidelines to ensure the meat maintains its high quality standards. After being raised for approximately 30 months, the cattle are slaughtered in highly regulated facilities. These processing plants adhere to strict hygiene and handling procedures to ensure the safety of the meat. The special thing about Japanese Wagyu beef is that it is classified based on a standard marbling score, numbered from 1 to 12. The higher the score, the more marbling. Only beef numbered 6 or higher is classified as premium Wagyu beef. With strict production processes at processing facilities, Japanese Wagyu beef has affirmed its unique brand worldwide. So, does Australia breed and produce Wagyu beef according to Japanese methods? And how was the taste of Australian Wagyu beef compared to the original taste in Japan? Australia is one of the world's largest producers of Wagyu beef. Although they import Wagyu cattle from Japan, Australian farmers have developed their own unique methods of raising and processing this expensive breed of cattle. While Japan has prioritized traditional practices, Australia has adopted a more industrial approach to Wagyu beef production to meet global demand. However, Australian farmers maintain high standards of care for their herds, focusing on producing consistent, high-quality beef. Unlike traditional large-scale farming in Japan, Australian Wagyu cattle are typically raised on large farms where they have access to pasture before being fed grain to enhance the marbling of the meat. The grain feeding process typically lasts between 30 and 50 days, during which time each cow is closely monitored to ensure that they achieve the desired marbling. Unlike Japan, where cows are cared for almost individually, Australian farms manage larger herds, using advanced technology to monitor and optimize cow health and diet. The slaughter and processing of Australian Wagyu beef is also subject to strict health and safety regulations, overseen by government agencies such as the Australian Meat Industry Council and the Department of Agriculture. Australian processing plants are also more automated than those in Japan, allowing for larger-scale beef processing. These plants use advanced technology to ensure that beef is slaughtered and packaged efficiently while maintaining the high standards expected of Wagyu. While Japan grades Wagyu meat according to its marbling, in Australia, experts take into account factors such as tenderness, flavor, and juiciness in addition to marbling. High-quality Australian Wagyu beef is often exported to international markets, especially in Asia and the United States. Compared to Japan, Australian Wagyu beef is aged for a longer period of time, usually 28 to 60 days, to develop the flavor and tenderness of the meat. The aging process is usually carried out in a temperature-controlled environment to ensure consistent quality. After aging, the beef is vacuum sealed and packaged for export. You can easily find Australian Wagyu beef on the menus of high-end restaurants and supermarkets around the world. While Japan consumes most of its Wagyu beef domestically, only a small portion is exported to international markets. In contrast, Australia produces a large amount of Wagyu beef for export, making it a major player in the global premium beef markets. Although originating from Japan, Australian Wagyu beef farms do not apply Japanese production technology, but instead apply high-tech, large-scale production to produce Wagyu beef for export worldwide. Despite different production methods, Japan and Australia are both aiming to create the highest quality Wagyu beef products that are sought after worldwide. Leave your comments below this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other interesting videos. See you in the next video! Do you know which region has the largest horse meat processing and exporting industry in the world? It is not China or Europe, but South America has traditionally been the world's largest exporter of horse meat. With a long history of horse and cattle farming, countries like Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil have become major players in the global horse meat industry. Join us as we explore South America's largest horse meat processing plant. The tradition of horse breeding in South America began in the 16th century when Spanish and Portuguese settlers arrived and brought horses with them. Over time, the growing horse population combined with the vast grasslands of the region led to the development of a strong horse industry. Since then, horses have been an integral part of the economy and culture of the region. Horse meat processing plants in South America are primarily dedicated facilities designed to slaughter, process, and package horse meat. These plants adhere to strict hygiene and food safety regulations, ensuring that the meat quality meets international standards. The process begins with the humane slaughter of the horses, followed by careful inspection and grading of the meat. Finally, the meat may be further processed before being packaged and prepared for export. These plants often operate in regions with long-standing cattle and horse farming traditions. Integrating horse meat processing into the broader meat industry in South America allows these plants to benefit from existing infrastructure, a skilled workforce, and a regulatory framework governing meat production. The horse meat industry is an important economic sector in South America, especially in rural areas where agriculture and livestock farming are dominant. Horse meat plants provide employment and support local economies, providing jobs and stable income for millions of people. In areas where livestock farming is the main occupation, horse meat processing is a complementary activity that helps diversify income sources for farmers. The horse meat export market in South America is also very stable, with European countries such as Belgium, France, and Italy being the main importers. The demand for horse meat in these regions is driven by cultural preferences, where horse meat is considered a delicacy and a traditional food item. One of the reasons South America exports the most horse meat in the world is because of the low cost of raising horses. The region has abundant natural pastures and a favorable climate, making horse meat production less expensive than other regions. In addition, horse meat consumption is also increasing because South Americans believe that eating horse meat improves their health. Horse meat is leaner and less fatty than other red meats, which appeals to health-conscious consumers. Furthermore, the environmental impact of horse meat production in South America is generally lower than that of other types of livestock production. Horses require less feed and water than cows and goats, and they are often raised on natural pastures rather than grazing. This reduces the environmental impact of horse meat production, making it a more sustainable choice for many farms. One of the biggest challenges facing the horse meat industry is closely related to ethical issues. In some regions, notably North America and the UK, the consumption of horse meat is taboo, leading to criticism from animal rights activists. Issues such as the treatment of horses during transport, the conditions under which they are kept before slaughter, and the methods used in slaughterhouses are all areas of concern and controversy.
Le combat est inévitable.
Despite these concerns, the horse meat industry in South America continues to thrive, thanks to demand from countries where horse meat is culturally accepted and considered a delicacy. We have just explored the large-scale horse meat processing plants in South America. How do you feel about today's video? Leave your comments below to let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe to receive the latest notifications. Now, goodbye and see you all again. Have you ever used pine nuts in your daily meals? They are also known as the caviar of nuts, to see how great their value is. Currently, China is the world's largest producer of pine nuts, accounting for a large part of the world's pine nut production. Every year, farmers can earn hundreds of thousands of dollars from harvesting and processing pine nuts. Let's explore with us how to harvest and process tons of pine nuts. Although pine nuts are grown in many regions of the world from Asia to Europe and the United States, China has a long history of growing pine nuts and is famous for its high-quality pine nut varieties. This country also leads the export of pine nuts with about 15,000 tons, accounting for 64% of the world market share. Jilin Province, located in northern China, is China's main pine nut producing region. Choosing the right pine tree variety is important because not all pine trees produce seed suitable for human consumption, and the variety must be adapted to the soil and climate conditions. Farmers mainly grow pine trees from seedlings because it is easier and more convenient to cultivate. This tree is known for its slow growth rate and late maturity. It can take several years before the tree starts producing pine cones, so farmers who grow this tree need to be patient. After many years of care, pine trees will produce fruit and seeds that usually ripen in late summer to early fall. At this time, farmers will harvest the pine cones, which you can see in the cone shape. When ripe, they will open and the seeds can be easily separated. Hand harvesting is common on smaller farms, while larger farms may use mechanical methods. Mechanical harvesting often uses vibrating machines similar to those used to harvest olives or pistachios. The vibrating machines gently vibrate the pine tree's trunks to cause the pine cones to fall to the ground, where workers collect the cones into baskets or large containers. Some farms will spread tarps under the trees so the pine cones can fall onto the tarps, ensuring a safer harvest. In addition to the two harvesting methods above, the Chinese also came up with a unique method that you cannot see in any other area, which is using hot air balloons. Accordingly, farmers will use hot air balloons to fly up to the pine tree tops and use long sticks to hit the fruit to make it fall down. The hot air balloons are tied with many strings at the bottom to prevent them from flying too high. However, this method is quite dangerous and is only applied in some areas in China. After harvesting, pine nuts need to be processed and stored properly, often requiring the removal of the outer shell, which can be done manually or with the help of specialized equipment. Workers often use some tools to break the outer shell or crush them to harvest the pine nuts inside. The remaining pine nuts are quite similar to pistachios because they have a hard shell surrounding the outside, and people usually keep the shell intact during further processing and packaging. Some processors perform the shelling process to harvest only the white seed inside. Once the shelling process is complete, the pine nuts are dried, the moisture content of which depends on the species, so different drying methods and temperatures are needed. Before packaging, pine nuts are classified into 3 types, such as premium grade, grade 1, or grade 2. At this point, pine nuts are ready to be vacuum packed and shipped to customers. In addition to processing instant pine nuts, this type of nut is also an important ingredient in many different processing industries such as oil pressing, baking, or milk processing, because pine nuts contain many important nutrients for human health. Pine nuts are packed with valuable nutrients that help keep the body healthy. Pine nuts contain plant protein and natural fiber, while most of their fat content consists of polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fatty acids, known as good fats, which help protect heart health. Furthermore, pine nuts are a rich source of minerals and trace elements, such as phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, manganese, iron, and calcium. They are also rich in vitamins E and K and antioxidants, such as polyphenols and carotenoids, which contribute to the control of cholesterol levels in the body. We have just followed the magical journey of pine nuts from harvest to consumption. How do you feel about this video? Leave your comments below to let us know. Bananas are one of the most popular and widely consumed fruits in the world, with billions of them harvested annually across tropical and subtropical regions. The world produces 135 million tons of bananas each year, and the value of the growing banana industry is estimated at $25 billion. Let's explore how farmers harvest and process large quantities of bananas. The banana industry is an important economic sector in countries such as Ecuador, the Philippines, India, and Central America. Banana production and export provide livelihoods for millions of workers, from smallholder farmers to large-scale plantations. Every day, farmers harvest hundreds of tons of bananas to be shipped to processing plants. Bananas are harvested while still green and unripe to ensure they survive the long journey to markets around the world. Harvesting typically takes place 8 to 10 months after planting, depending on the region and weather conditions. This process is labor-intensive, as many plantations harvest bananas by hand to avoid damaging the fruit. Harvesters use knives to cut banana bunches from the trees, being careful not to damage the fruit or surrounding trees. Each bunch can weigh up to 40 kilograms, so workers must be skilled at carrying heavy loads to the collection point. Because the bunches are heavy, each harvester also places a soft cloth or foam pad on their shoulders to avoid injuring or damaging the bananas. Large-scale plantations of hundreds of hectares often use pulleys that can harvest thousands of banana bunches per day. Harvesting bananas using a pulley is a more efficient and safer method. Workers tie heavy bunches of bananas to a rope that is threaded through a pulley mechanism. Once secured, the pulley allows the bananas to be lowered into the bin or container in a slow, controlled manner. This reduces the risk of damaging the fruit and prevents worker injury. This method of harvesting bananas increases productivity and worker safety, while ensuring high-quality yields, making it an increasingly popular method in commercial banana farming. After harvest, bananas are transported from the fields to processing facilities where they undergo sorting, washing, and packaging. Post-harvest handling is critical to ensuring that bananas maintain their quality during transport to consumer markets, which can be thousands of miles away from the plantation. At processing facilities, bananas are graded according to size, weight, and appearance. Only bananas that meet quality standards, are uniform in color, and free of blemishes are exported. Each bunch of bananas is washed to remove dirt or banana sap. The washing process also helps cool the fruit and slows down the ripening process. After washing and sorting, the bananas are packed into boxes or crates designed to protect them during transport. The boxes are carefully stacked to minimize damage during transport. The packing process is usually done by hand, although some larger facilities may use a mechanized system to assist in the operation. Bananas are also an important ingredient in the food processing industry, such as confectionery or snacks. Bananas are put into specialized machines to be sliced into thin slices and then dried or fried. Dried bananas are also popular in many regions, contributing to the diversity of the banana processing industry. Don't forget to like and subscribe to receive the latest notifications. And now, goodbye and see you again!